Hi, my name's Larry Randolph. Thank you for visiting my YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to show you how to take something that looks like this and turn it into something that looks like this. Ooh. I'd appreciate it if you'd take just a minute to click the subscribe button. And at the end of this video, if you liked what you saw, make sure you give me a good thumbs up and give me a comment or two. Now, that said, hang on to the end because there's going to be a drawing. I'm going to give away some of the tools that I used to make this bowl. I'm making it for my sweetheart. I'm making it for Sugar Britches, better known as the light of my darkness, or butter wings, or I have a lot. What I did was I took a blank and I put it on a worm screw, which I'm not going to show you how to do in this video. I might do that in another one, but for the sake of time, I wanted to really just focus on the amendments. I put it on a screw chuck and I flattened off the backside, rounded it, finished the backside, put a tenon in it, and then flipped it around and started going to work on the front of it. So when I turned it around, I faced off the front of the bowl and got it good and smooth. And then I started sanding, I believe with 100 grit. It was face grain hard maple, so I probably was able to get enough of a cut. But my ego is not so big that if I needed to start with 60, I'll start with 60. But anyway, I went through the grits. I went, say, if I went 60, then I went 60, 80, 100, 120, 150, 180, then 240. Now, I know that there'll be a lot of you that will say you only have to use 50% more grit in sandpaper for your next level of sandpaper. So in other words, if I used 100, I could then go to 150. Well, I've done that in the past, and sometimes it works out really well, and then sometimes, depending on the wood, when you get to 300 or 400 grit, all of a sudden you realize there are some fine scratches left in that finish. So I've just found it easier to go a little more slowly, a little more methodically with, say, 80, 100, 120, 150, 180, 240, like I said. And then I don't have to back up. If I won't see scratches, I won't have to back up and start over. So in the long run, I think I'm saving time. Now I am using Ken Riz's or Woodturners Wonders Ultimate Sanding Kit for this. I really like that you can pop on and pop off each one of these sanding pads and change it out for the next grit. It's just quick and easy. Now, after I was through with my sanding, I decided that I didn't want to go the Yorkshire Grit or any kind of paste wax or anything because I wanted this finish to stick. I wanted my colors to stick. So I decided to just go with a Mylands cellulose sanding sealer, and I wiped it all over the face of it and then buffed it just a little bit before I laid down my first coat. Then I decided that I wanted to use the airbrush. Now, to give you a good disclaimer, I am not an airbrush artist. I've played with it quite a little bit. I'm getting better every time I use it, but I am not a fine artist with the airbrush. I just wanted to use this as another tool, and you'll see as I get into that. So what I'm doing here is I'm using a Createx opaque white acrylic paint in my airbrush. And I'm using it basically like a primer because I knew that it was not going to take, or that it would take more than just one coat, even with that opaque color of the white and the red, to keep the wood from shining through. If I wanted the top of it to shine through, I probably just would have used colored dyes. But in this case, I wanted to completely cover the wood so that when I took the bowl out of the middle, it would be natural wood along with the color. Now, once I got the base coat of white down, I decided I wanted to put a gradient around the edges. So I did that, and I don't show you on this particular clip, but I did that with red just kind of hitting the edges. And I started to turn the pressure on my air compressor, or my regulator rather. My regulator and water trap I could connect directly to my air compressor. But I turned it down a little bit because I kind of wanted to get just a little bit of splatter on purpose. I wanted it to be kind of a confetti look with the hearts that I'm getting ready to put on. Okay? Now, when I first started, I had in my mind a couple of options for getting the hearts down that I wanted to do. And I thought the first and the easiest would be, had it worked, using some Valentine sticker hearts. And what I found was that the adhesive was just a little too much for that white paint to stand up underneath it. So I had to scrap that and sand back to bare wood, and I put my Mylands back down. Now this time I decided that I would try more of a traditional airbrush stencil. And I took blue painter's tape and marked off all but one of each of the sizes of hearts. I've got a little one, a large one, and a medium-sized one. And I tried that, and this is the effect that I got. Though I liked that effect, it was a little too soft, the edges of the hearts. So I decided I wanted something a little crisper. So I went to Plan C. Did Plan A, did Plan B, I had Plan C. This was a learning opportunity. My wife, Sugar Britches, and I decided, I guess it was about this time last year, that we felt like we needed a vinyl cutter. We have a lot of different projects that we've used it for already. What we did was we made for Christmas last year a bunch of those country-style, rustic-looking signs for gifts. And they were a hit. So I thought, well, you know, why not? For those of you that know airbrushing, you know about Frisket, which is kind of like a little bit like a Scotch tape that you can cut designs out of, either to airbrush through a hole or use as a solid piece, kind of like the sticker, to spray around it and leave the color underneath visible when you take it off. Well, I decided to go ahead and cut some of these, and my lovely wife is the one that does what's called the weeding, where she takes out the piece of film. This is Oramask film, and then she put it on a backer with transfer tape, and that's what we're going to give away at the end of this video. So what I did was I mounted it on the face of this bowl, and you'll see here I've already done the small hearts, the little white ones, and then I put this next layer of film down, which is really easy to do. I didn't show you how to do that in this video, but I may show you in a future video. It's a really cool tool. But I laid this paint down, this paint mask down, and then I airbrush through the hearts to get my layering of the hearts. Now again, remember, I don't claim to be an airbrush artist. So if it looks like I'm laying this paint on a little bit thick, I really am. Again, I kind of backed down the pressure on my airbrush so I would get just a little bit more of that splatter look for texture. And I think it worked out pretty well. For those of you that are OCD and want to see me paint through the rest of this, here it is, and fast forward. You'll also notice that I'm putting on paint pretty thickly here. In my shop, it was, the day I shot, probably only 55, maybe 58 degrees, so that's a little cool for the acrylic. But I purposely turned the pressure down again on my regulator so I could get a little more splatter, a little more texture with the paint, and I think it worked out pretty well. I laid the next layer of paint mask down, or film, and I started with the final layer of white hearts. And again, you'll notice that I am putting the paint on fairly thick. Now, this paint mask film comes off really pretty easy, as long as you don't get aggressive with it. It didn't peel up any of the paint. It's designed to be a low-tack tape or mask. It's not quite as low-tack as a blue painter's tape, but it's not much stickier than that. So it comes up pretty easy. Now, unfortunately, I was in a hurry to get this video done, so I really didn't get a chance to shoot the gradient that I shot around the outside, both here and then the inside of the rim. But basically what I did was I took my airbrush and I shot at an angle. And so it would kind of hit hard here and a little lighter. And I was back a little ways with my brush. And that allowed some of that spatter or confetti look to come out. So again, I think that turned out pretty well. Now, as a finish, I decided that I would go ahead, even though it was cool in the shop, I'd go ahead and try to shoot some lacquer. Just rattle can lacquer. I put on light coats, and The first 2 coats I let stay out here in the shop where it was cool. And then I'd wait, I think I waited 30 minutes in between coats. It's a quick dry lacquer. And on the 3rd through the 6th coat, I took it off of the chuck and took it back in the house where it was a little warmer, and it allowed it to tack up less. I didn't want to do much scuffing of that finish, because since there is a texture with the paint, I was concerned that I might take the edge of one of the little hearts off. So between the gradient and using that airbrush kind of as a little squirt bottle, when I did that, I even turned my air pressure down to about 10 psi. When I did the gradient and the hearts, I was somewhere between 20 and 25 psi, which is a little light. Probably 25 to 30 would have been a much smoother finish. But again, I really wasn't trying to go for that on this particular piece. I wanted it to be kind of whimsical and fun. So I hope that I've given you enough information that you might go out and try something like this in your own shop. Now, for those of you that are interested in a little bit of a drawing and a little bit of fun, I have got a full set of these paint stencils that you can have, and all you have to do that to be in this drawing. Now, this is Friday the 9th. I should have this uploaded later this evening. All of you that subscribe to my channel and give me a thumbs up and a comment in the section below, I'll enter you in a drawing, and then Monday morning I'll draw from those names, whether it be one or however many. I'll draw from those names and mail these out to you Monday. Now, you do have to be in the continental United States to participate in this. That doesn't mean I don't want you to subscribe, but this time on this drawing, I'm going to have to limit it to the continental United States because I don't have the ability yet to mail internationally. Anyway, I hope that you like this project. I'm going to go ahead and fess up. Let me step off camera for a second. I've got to go ahead and fess up that in getting ready to turn this, I was in a hurry, and normally I would use what I call a jobber bit to drill a hole for my worm screw, and I didn't. I grabbed the first bit that was the right size, didn't think anything about it, and I used a brad point bit. Now, everything we do in the wood shop, we learn from, right? This one I learned from the hard way. I've got a recessed tenon, which I don't do a lot of pieces with a recessed tenon. So as I was sanding, for those of you that have been turning for a while, you know what happened. I got to 180 grit, and all of a sudden I saw a little black dot. And with 240 grit, it became a hole. But that's okay. It just so happens that a friend of mine, Carl Hooser, in my wood turning club, gave me a couple of little pieces of stone. I think it's quartz. I don't remember for sure. Sorry, Carl. That basically are the size of a pearl. And my intent is to turn a Harry Potter wand for my granddaughter. I'm going to take one of those and I'm going to put a little bit of epoxy and put it right in the base, and it'll look like it was supposed to be there. So only people that know that is a hole that's not supposed to be there are wood turners. So if you have something like that happen, don't throw it away. Don't get mad. Use it to your advantage and turn it into something cool. So again, I hope you like this video. Feel like I've rambled on this one, but please hit the subscribe button, give me a thumbs up, and comment again if you're interested in winning those templates so you can make your own sweetheart bowl.